It's Soleil, and this is episode 76 of the Orange Pill Investor. And today I'm going to be talking about, I guess it's a response to Matthew Kratter of Bitcoin University's video from yesterday, where he discusses, did the NSA create Bitcoin? And first of all, I just got to say, subscribe, follow, whatever, his channel. Watch every single video he's ever made, and you'll be better off for it, whether you're a stock investor, Bitcoiner, whatever. But so you'll have to watch his video to get the full thing. But the TLDR version for me is, it doesn't matter if the NSA created Bitcoin. And I do have a little bit of a different take than Matthew has. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste your time posting this video. I just repost his or quote tweet it or whatever the hell. And the reason why I say it doesn't matter is because the government is always doing dumb shit that has unintended consequences. And a lot of times those consequences, well, they can be good for us or bad for us. So, they may shoot themselves in the foot. And so in this case, I think if they created Bitcoin as some kind of Trojan horse to trick us into digital currencies, and they're going to try to sneak in a CBDC or whatever, then they really fucked around and found out, because it definitely backfired. And unintended consequences is that Bitcoiners are not going to subject themselves to a CBDC. So you can forget that shit. Bitcoin's taken over the entire financial industry, and they let a genie out of the bottle if they actually did create it, thinking they were going to be able to use it as some kind of control. So, and it just reminds me of when when they tried to use LSD in mind control for MK Ultra, and they just ended up, like, instead of controlling minds, which actually maybe they were somewhat effective with their, with that, but they ended up actually freeing the minds of a bunch of frickin' hippies. And those guys expanded their frickin' horizons. And I don't think the government counted on that kind of counterculture that spun out of control from that. And I'm just going to read from this list of things that I wrote down, and it only took me like 10 seconds to come up with all these. I'm sure there's hundreds more. But they created the welfare state, which destroys poor people. They created the Department of Education, which made everybody stupid. They fund terrorists. That backfires. Then the terrorists end up becoming, our future enemy. We invade countries and think that we're going to install democracy, and then that backfires. We just end up having to basically play nanny for the next decade, spend billions of dollars, get thousands and thousands of our young men and women killed, and really just make enemies of the United States everywhere on the planet. And I can't remember who came up with this term, but I think it was actually the CIA. I think they came up with the term blowback. And it's basically, it's probably just physics. This only just occurred to me, but every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So when you assassinate the leader of another country, there's going to be blowback from that. There's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. And so if the NSA attempted to create a cryptocurrency that would enslave the people, then they definitely got some blowback, because as far as I can tell, Bitcoin is freeing the world. And that's why I don't really give a shit if NSA created Bitcoin, or some guy named Satoshi Nakamoto, or just doesn't even really matter. So, not fussed about it at all, but this was an interesting video, and it got me thinking. I probably was walking the dogs and listening to listening to this and decided it was worth a response. So with that out of the way, I will update the small account challenge. I I swear. Oh, actually, I'm back up over 5,000 again. Okay, so I started this at 5,000 a couple of weeks ago. Bitcoin immediately shit the bed. I bought all of these Bitcoin mining stocks, and it dropped down to like $4,000 in a week because I was buying mining stocks at Bitcoin's all-time highs. But you got to get off zero somehow. You don't. I mean, I could have just sat on my hands, but Bitcoin could have went to 100,000 while I just sat there doing nothing. So I don't I don't really sit around and wait for dips. I just make my own dips. I buy 100 shares of something, sell the covered call against it. Boom, I've reduced my cost basis. Put some money in my pocket. I can use that premium to do whatever I want. I can buy a cup of coffee with it. Or what I prefer to do is buy additional shares. Now, a little bit of a departure to what I would normally do is normally I would buy shares in the stock that costs the least. That way I can get to another 100 shares as quickly as possible. So I bought Mara. I got 200 shares of Mara, and that was a friggin' disaster. All of the other mining stocks are up, but Mara is taking it in the shorts. So I may ditch Mara for CLSK. That's one that somebody put me onto recently. I may, you know what I may do is just kind of diversify. It's kind of a funny thing to say when everything is correlated. So all of these are mining stocks. They're all going to be, well, MicroStrategy is a leveraged long Bitcoin stock, really. But they're all correlated to Bitcoin. So talking about diversification when you really just have one sector, like one little tiny sliver that are all similarly correlated is kind of silly and funny to say. But they all do have their own third-party risks. So they all have their own CEOs. They all have their own jurisdictions where they are. They all have their own company culture and all of that crap. So they're all going to have different earnings calls and just they all have different prices. So maybe they attract different investors. So in a way, it doesn't make any sense to give a crap about diversification when it's impossible to diversify when you're not really just, I don't believe in anything else. I believe in Bitcoin and Tesla, and that's it. So I'm not going to diversify into banks and energy and oil and gold and silver and all of this horse shit that I don't believe in. I have conviction. So I invest in what I believe in. And I don't really think that there's no way in hell somebody with 25 different stocks in their portfolio, which is I think what they statistically say you have to get in order to reduce the chances of any one stock hurting you or whatever. I totally get the logic behind that. But you can't tell me that you believe, like if you've got your money and you go out there and you're like, okay, I'm going to pick 25 stocks. Well, guess what? You pick the first 5 stocks that you pick, those are the ones you have conviction in. And the next 20 that you pick are just, it's just an excuse to get to diversification. You don't believe in those freaking stocks. I mean, you damn sure don't believe in them like you did with the top 5, which is what I think is hilarious because I think it was in Atomic Habits. I could have this wrong. I think it was in Atomic Habits where Warren Buffett's private pilot said, "Oh, hey, in 10 years I want to get this jet." And Warren Buffett told him, "Look, if you still work for me in 10 years, then I've failed you. And you need to I might be screwing up the stories, confusing 2 different stories. But anyway, the recommendation was, okay, make a list of like 20, 25 things that you should work on in order to, take your business to the next level or take your chosen profession to the next level." And then he asked them, okay, what are you going to work on? He's like, okay, well, I'm going to work on these top 5 most of the time. And then on evenings or weekends, I'll work on these other 10 and these other 20 or whatever. And Warren said, no, you got it all wrong. You work on your top 5, and you absolutely do not work on anything else after the top 5, because those are not the ones that are going to help you get to the next level. The top 5 will, and all of that other blah, blah, blah crap is not going to be helpful to you. So I think it's kind of funny that he kind of doesn't take his own, it doesn't seem like he takes his own advice when it comes to picking stocks. But, I haven't made as much money as Warren yet. So maybe I should just defer to him until I have him beat. I'm nipping on his heels though. So that's just a joke. But so I may try to just, okay, I'll keep 100 shares of Mara. Then I'll get 100 shares of it. I'll sell 100 shares of this Mara. Maybe on Friday I'll reorganize all of this and grab 100 shares of CLSK. And I don't know if I'll probably just be able to afford 100 shares of Riot. Maybe I'll sell 100 or 200 shares of Hut. Whatever I've got some margin I can use, but I will grab just 100 shares of a bunch of different stuff, and then I'll start packing on the Hut. But I got off a little track. So what I normally do is I buy, with the premium that I sold, I roll it right back in and invest it, and I buy shares in the cheapest stock that I'm trading so that I can get to 100 shares as quickly as possible so that I can sell another covered call as quickly as possible. That's my goal at all times. Reinvest 100% of the profits and then try to get to another 100 shares ASAP. That's all I care about. And I've departed from that slightly because of the potential of MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy is completely changed the game as far as I can tell. It's basically going to start breaking shit in the stock market and probably in the entire financial industry. Follow the Ryquant Bros or whatever the hell it is on YouTube and watch their videos. If you can't get hyped after watching that, I don't know what to tell you. But my theory is that if I take the premium and buy as much MicroStrategy as I can as soon as possible before it pumps to frickin' $10,000 a share, then when it's time to buy another 100 shares, the MicroStrategy will have appreciated, and I will be able to buy more shares of stock that I can then sell covered calls against than I would have if I bought shares of the cheap stock, because shares of MicroStrategy, being a leveraged Bitcoin play, is going to appreciate faster than just a regular mining stock. I almost kind of feel like owning MicroStrategy in this small account challenge is cheating, because the point is for me to demonstrate the efficiency of selling covered calls, and that it can beat the S&P 500, it can beat dividends, it can beat buy and hold, it can beat all these other different types of strategies. The only one that it maybe can't beat, it would be like, I don't know, momentum trading, and people who are just adept at day trading and scalping or whatever. I mean, if that's your business and you make money doing that, more power to you. Maybe you can stare at your computer screen for 8 hours straight a day and beat this strategy. But there's no way in hell that anybody that only spends 30 minutes a week trading on Friday is going to beat this strategy. I challenge anybody to figure out a way to get at least 50%, 52% returns annually. That's minimum. That's guaranteed. If you can do that, my hat is off to you. I'll post the video, kissing your ass or whatever. But I literally just log on Friday on a break and roll my expirations. Expirations are on every Friday, so I close the ones that are expiring to that on Friday, and that actually Friday is a holiday, so I'll be doing it on Thursday. But whatever the last day of the trading week is, okay, I will log on, spend a half an hour closing my positions and opening new positions for the following Friday. That's it. 52% returns every year minimum. I don't understand why more people don't do this. I think people are just scared of options, or they're just, I don't know. I don't know why not. But I was lucky that a friend of mine, actually that I only know online, put me onto it, and I've been doing it for a few years, and this strategy has never failed me long term. Of course, anybody can buy a stock and then it goes down, like what happened to me 2 weeks ago, or you can a covered call, will go way above your strike. The price will go way above your strike, and you end up not making as much money as you would have if you didn't sell the covered call. Of course, those things happen in the short term, but selling covered calls has far and away just crushed every other strategy and diversified portfolio that I've seen people bragging about. When they brag about their returns, and then I'm like, that's like nothing compared to what I get regularly. Like their annual returns are like what I get in a month, and it just makes me kind of laugh to myself. 2 months. Okay, that was an exaggeration. 2 months, because they'll be like, 7% a year in the S&P or something, and I get 8% in 8 weeks. So I don't get it. Options are scary, I suppose, but hopefully this small account challenge will help people. I think I'm going to start talking about some of the more expensive stuff. Maybe I'll start sharing my other account that I do on Tasty Trade. The mechanics of the trades are a little different. The principle is still exactly the same. But all right, I think that's good for now, and I will link the video from Bitcoin University in the comments, in the replies. So check it out, and hopefully, I actually do kind of hope the NSA didn't create Bitcoin. If they did, I'll kind of just roll my eyes, but it'll be a little bit ironic if they did, but I really just don't care. All right, be good, Joel.